All right, all right, all right. Welcome back to the Agent to CEO podcast. This is where we turn experience into structure and conversations into frameworks. Every episode is built to give you clarity, standards, and measurable execution, not just ideas. If you guys are ready to scale with discipline, go to sevenfigurecall.com, book your call, and we will see you over there. And man, I am super excited. Not only getting one of these individuals on the call, but getting both of these rock stars out of Birmingham, Alabama. Gene, Connie, thank you guys so much for carving out a little time to jump in here. And man, I'm excited. Let's dive in.
Thanks for having us.
Let's go. Glad to be here, man.
Man, I am excited. I get to see you guys in person next week as we are kicking off. The event schedule has been kicked off, and here we go, right? Wrapping up the first quarter already, which is just wild to think that we're already in March. And kicking off a Further Together event next week. So, Connie, share what this whole event is about, right? Where the Further Together concept, the mindset and momentum, two words that I can really get behind. So I'm excited to, unpack this. Obviously the opportunity to come hang out with you guys, honored to be there, share the stage with you guys and have just a massively, impactful and successful event in Birmingham. So Connie, unpack this a little bit for us. I mean, what is the Further Together event really all about?
Yeah, absolutely, John. So, Further Together is started by agents for agents. So, I think it's really important to look at this from a perspective of you've got a group of collaborative agents who want to get together and they just want to share their ideas. So it's not brokerage specific. It's just something that we put together as our community and really kind of for the state as a whole, that people can come and they just learn. And, we can develop whatever or decide to host whatever topics and have whatever speakers we want, which is really cool. So, these events are held, quarterly in a lot of areas. And it's just great to get together with other agents and just share ideas, see each other. A lot of times, I don't see agents all the time on the other side of the deal until we get to the closing table. So it just makes it really, really fun to schedule some time for us to learn together, meet some cool people and grow. And that's where the whole Further Together concept came from.
Yeah, I love that. Gene, what sparked it to, not try to tackle it on your own or, good luck, Connie, but actually to being able to step in and partner up to do this event together?
Well, I mean, just like that event, we're always looking for people that we love to work with and we jive well together, and looking for strengths. And so Connie gave me a call and asked if I want to jump in and plan this with her. And I love working with Connie on several different levels. So it made it really easy. And it's kind of a theme for the event of just being able to use each other's strengths to work together and to build something great. And the event, we kind of want the event to do that as well on a much larger scale. So it worked out pretty well. So.
Yeah, let's unpack a little bit because, I just love to, get y'all's 2 cents on, the importance of bringing people together, even more so now in kind of the season and the climate that we're in, and how easy it is to, isolate yourself and feel like you're out on an island, and, the importance of events and bringing people together.
Yeah, I think it's so important because, we know that change doesn't happen in isolation. We know that, when you are together with a group of like-minded people who are willing to share and willing to give back, you become a little bit more courageous, maybe to speak up or raise your hand or ask a question. And there's always an opportunity to learn from people. I don't want to be the smartest person in the room. And I know that so many of the agents that I speak to and talk to, they're just brilliant and they have their own ideas and their own, things that are working for them. And it's always just great to bounce ideas off of each other.
Yeah. Yeah. And for you, Gene, I mean, always, jumping into rooms every time you get a chance, but being on the the flip side of building the room, how important right now, with everything that's going on in the real estate space, and just a lot of noise out there, being able to, design this event to bring people together, kind of, how important is that to you, right now, of building something like this for people to come together?
Well, I think, I've been fortunate over the years to be in a lot of rooms with you, John, and what I found in every room is, you know, whatever the event was based on, the curriculum has always been extremely helpful. But even more so than that, there's always been a relaxed environment, and in that relaxed environment, when you get away from the main show, and you also get to collaborate with agents throughout the room. And at no point have I ever been to an event where I didn't have an aha conversation with somebody, that where I was able to take something home and really immediately put it into my business. And it would be things that I would never thought I would have heard, never thought would have worked. And it just happened to be somebody that's willing to share. And what I found is the people that go to these events are people that cheer other people's success on and want other people to be successful. And so they're all open to sharing. And so every time I've been to an event like that, not only did the speakers in the event obviously boost my business, but those after conversations in that relaxed environment, that where you're able to really, really just talk openly with agents, have always been, mass value to me, and have really impacted my business in several ways, with several different directions I've been able to go, things I've been able to grow. And it amazes me, the kindness of agents that are able to do that. So when Connie and I were working together, Connie did a great job of picking some venues to where it opens the door not only for it to be that environment, to create that environment before and after. So that's what's really exciting about it to me, just because I've experienced it firsthand. So.
It is. I was thinking a few things. So I do have a question for you guys, and we can kind of take turns on this. But I mean, just different moments in kind of the seasons of our life, right? Not even the season of the business, but knowing like, man, like I can't afford to go, right? I can't afford to make the investment. Like I can't, afford to step away from the business. Yet once you get into the room, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that I was like even thinking about not coming. How, like, I would love for you guys to maybe share an experience or a story, to where you were in that situation and you walk into a room, and like Gene was sharing, you have a couple of those moments and it's like, oh my goodness, right? Like it was like a turning point for me, like being in that room. I almost didn't go because of X, Y, and Z was happening. And, like I didn't know how I was going to make it, but I got there and I can't believe I didn't almost didn't go. And this was the aha moment, and it made this connection and this change. I mean, we all have those stories, right? Going to events throughout our career. I would just love, I mean, if you guys have, one of those stories to share that. I think it's just so impactful, to be, to hear them, but also be reminded of why getting in rooms is so important. Connie, do you have one of those stories?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I do. But, years ago, before I was I've always loved real estate, but before I really went all in, I was just kind of dabbling here and there, and really had not jumped into how important coaching was. And someone invited me to an event, a Tom Ferry event, and I went. And reluctantly I went. And the connections that I made, someone introduced me to Sharon Srivatsa at that event. And, and I didn't even know who he was at the time, but someone said, hey, did you hear what's going on tonight? And it was like 8:30 or 9. And I was like, I'm ready to go to bed. But this mastermind had been going on for hours, and agents were packed into this room, sitting on the floor, like squished against each other, listening to, this talk and these strategies and all of these questions, and everybody was engaged. And for the first time in my life, like I saw this as a business. I had run several businesses successfully, and real estate was honestly just always one of those things that you just did for extra money, or I did, thought of as a hobby. Mm-hmm. I was one of those agents, and this was the first time in my life that like I was able to really see, no, this is a profitable business. And if you run it like a business, treat it like a business, it can be everything. So that was a life-changing moment for me, and an experience that I wouldn't have had if somebody didn't invite me to something. So like I, always share that with people, because I think it is, yes, you do have to be in the right mindset. You've got to be ready to open and ready to receive that. But at the same time, like, you just never know what can happen when you walk into the right room.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so excited to have you, John, come, because, being able to coach with you a little bit and talk to you and get to know you, like, you've helped me so much with so many different aspects of just like knowing who I am and knowing, what strengths I have and what I can bring to the table, and having that information allows me to step more confidently into what I'm able to do. So I'm excited to hear your talk on Wednesday of next week.
Me too. No, I'm just joking. No, you're right. Getting into the rooms, getting into there, and you never know who you're going to meet, let alone, I mean, you met one of the, he's on, if I put one person on Mount Rushmore, Sharon's on Mount Rushmore for this industry for sure. But you're so spot on. You never know. Sometimes it's, absolute faith. I don't know if I told you, Connie. I know I haven't told you, Gene, but I think last summer we had a little getaway, got down to Key West, and over the weekend. And if you guys anybody's been to Key West, you would never put Key West and church together, right? In the same context. You would never think that if you've ever been to Key West. Yet here we are, Saturday night, Elle is like, hey, I really want to go to church tomorrow. Like, okay, this ought to be interesting. And so, we get up Sunday and we venture off, and we're following the signs to this church, and we're going by, and I'm like, okay, I don't remember a church over here. Like, we come over here quite a bit, and I don't think there's a church over here. Of course, turn the corner, there's a church. And we're standing across the street, and we're just kind of like contemplating, do we go in or not? That's one of those moments. And of course, the neighbor is out watering his plants, and he said, are y'all looking for the church? And we're like, what gave that away? And he said, you're safe. You can go in. It was run down. They took it over. They rehabbed it, and they've been pretty consistent, and it pretty opening. So we go in, and it is definitely a church in Key West. I'll just leave it at that. And Leanne loves the music, and I'm there for the lesson. What's the story? Come on, talk to me a little bit here. And so we get into the story, and he's talking about blind athletes, and just all the remarkable things blind athletes have been able to pull off. And he's going example. And then he goes skiing. And then he goes downhill skiing. And, he's showing pictures and stuff. And he's like, do you believe the skier that's blind is going to question, because you can't make it down the hill without a guide? Do you believe that skier is going to be like, nah, I ain't going to listen to you today. You tell me to go right. I'm actually going to go left. No, I'm not going to turn. I'm going to go straight. Of course not. You are going to just listen. And basically what he said is that, not only trusting the guide, but also having faith in the guide, and having blind faith in the process. And so it was just a really remarkable story, but that's really what it comes down to, right? In a lot of the journey that we're all on, sometimes we just have to have a little blind faith in the process. And I think getting into rooms like your example is, man, just have faith, right? The lesson is going to be there for what you're needing right now, but you just got to get in the room. You just got to show up to be able to hear the message. And it's just a great reminder when we do these events, and when we have events, when we go to events, is that, we're having faith, but we're looking for the lesson that's going to help us take our life and our business to the next level. And it sounds like what you did, walking in the room with Sharon, will definitely do that. But it wouldn't have if you were closed-minded and not trying to receive and really be coachable and be a student in the room.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And what a church service in Key West.
I
Man,
know.
that's
I don't know if
awesome.
I would recommend it for everybody, but it is an adventure if you do want to step off out there.
Yeah.
Hey, Gino. So I know the good fortune of being in a lot of rooms with you, but is there a moment that kind of stands out for you that was like, man, like I'm so glad that just like completely shot me in the right direction by taking the time and getting in that room?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it was a kitchen table. For me, when I fully engaged with a coach, you were my first coach, and then getting in with kitchen table. I was nervous. I'm kind of an introvert guy. I keep my circle tight, and so I may or may not have had several old fashions in the bar before I even arrived to that event, just to loosen up. But man, it was getting to meet people from all over the country that wanted to share with you what was unique to me, and I felt like you know it was just something that expanded my horizons as far as the vision of what I could do, how I could truly build a business, like as Connie mentioned, and then who I could build it with and who could support me along the way. And literally that room that I've been in, several times because you do it quarterly, I talk to people every week from that room and we strategize on different things. Different opportunities in that room have led me to have some of the greatest runs I've ever had in real estate, just from somebody saying, I have an opportunity for you. I'd like you to look at this and jumping in. And even coming full circle, getting in rooms, it's just been something that's so big to me. And even to our event, one of the guys from Kitchen Table is driving over from Georgia just to be at our event, just because you and I are putting it on, and he's connected to us. And so it's just, number one, it builds long-lasting relationships. Number two, it expands your horizons, not only to statewide or citywide, but across the country. Number three, it takes away the fear of expansion because you get to see other people that have done it and made it successful, and you get to take bits and pieces of every bit of that and mold it into what your personality and your strengths are and turn it into something that's beautiful for you. And it's pretty cool. So a lot of these things have gone full circle. Connie, you mentioned Sharon. I had a couple of down years, and between John and Sharon, because I went to a Sharon event, which I actually think you invited me to, he and I connected, and he was texting me through issues and things like that, which was super helpful. And then also another example is from Kitchen Table. One of the agents that I met at Kitchen Table introduced me to a group that I'm with now. And when I first started my team in 2011, there was kind of a guy from Keller Williams that was pioneering teams, and his name was Ben Kinney. And so that gentleman now, I talk to him every week and am business partners with him the way we're structured. And I never thought any of these things would come to fruition, but it honestly, all those things spurred from one room and just one leap of faith. And it's opened up into several different avenues that have blessed me in real estate. Not only with great relationships and great friends, but a ton of opportunity and knowledge to go along with it. And I'm very humbled by how much people want to help you. And I think that's what, oftentimes if you get in a smaller office environment, you run into a bit of competition and a bit of people that are close knit. But again, what I've seen is the people that are willing to step out and go to those events. That's not what you run into at all. Those are people that want other people to win and share and grow. And so that's what's been most impactful to me. So.
Yeah, man, thanks for sharing that. And it just goes to show you, and that's the beautiful thing too that I love about KT and love the events that I get to be a part of, is because you hear especially in the real estate industry, you hear like, oh, I don't go for what they're teaching. I go for the connections at the bar, the connections in the hallways. And I'm like, man, why can't we have it all? Why can't we have both? Why can't we have the lessons? Why can't we have the moments? Why can't we have, that in the room as well as in the hallways and the connections and the dinners and those as well? Like, I just believe you can have it all. I don't believe it's one or the other. So that's really cool. And, and that's the thing too, with events is like, and I think social media has kind of given our, kind of our reticular activator, our bullshit detector is kind of always on high alert. And so that's another reason why I see how critical and how important events are moving into the future. Because if like you said, like running a real estate business, running a small business is a lonely endeavor, right? Like if you are not okay in isolation, if you're not okay with loneliness, this is not small business. An entrepreneur, business owner is not for you. Right. I remember Kyle Whistle told me, he's like, dude, don't build a team if you don't like people. And I was like, hey man, that's brilliant advice. No joke. Right. I mean, there's a lot of people that need to hear that lesson, but it's like, knowing what you're doing and what it's going to do to be able to unlock it is so important. And, Connie, you mentioned leaning in more to your strengths. I've been meaning to tell you, I can tell it's showing up in your social media content. It's getting like more and better. And I'm like, yes, she's leaning in. She's doing the thing, which is just confidence, right? The confidence is coming. And I think to Jean's point, the more you get in those rooms, and especially the rooms that you got to come back to, right? Forces a little bit of that accountability, and it's forcing you to grow because you don't want to be the one coming back to the room that didn't grow, that didn't do what you said you're going to do. So I think having rooms that you're coming back to, you're visiting, again and again, forces you to, kind of step up. It forces that level of accountability.
It's so true. And, Jean and I had no idea what we were getting into when we said yes for this. So, it was one of those things that we just did by faith, and in hopes that it helps someone and helps agents. And, here we are, like we've learned so much and, the next one, it will be, 10 times easier, I feel like, because it's not the first time. But, it's always rewarding at the end of it to say, okay, yes, we can do that now. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what getting into these rooms does. It's like when you see people, talk to people, hear what they're doing and hear how it's working for them or how lives have been changed because they took a leap of faith, it gives people more confidence. And you said it, real estate can be super lonely. It can be super scary. And I think that you're right. Like, we see things on social media, we hear things and we hear how hard and difficult and expensive and all of these things are. But when you really learn to connect with people one-on-one, like, it becomes not so scary, whether it's agents or whether it's your buyers, your sellers, like, it's just a relationship. And I think that that's what's so important to just remind agents these days is it is a relationship business. It's not only relationships with buyers and sellers and bringing people together, it's relationships with one another.
So good. Let's flip this a little bit. Let's go back to, let's put our, event planner. We're going to host the event hat on for anybody listening to kind of this piece that's thinking about, hosting an event or doing events, but how do I, take my events to the next level? Let's walk through kind of that framework that you guys have had to go through for one, making the decision, then the planning, the team, the structure, the goals, the intent, everything that comes into, really deciding to host an event, then pulling it off to where you hit kind of what you define to be success. I think that'll be really helpful. Just because, like I said, my point earlier, and it's a belief that the noisier it continues to get, that having these smaller, more intimate, 100, 150, 200 less type of events to where most people can truly connect with each other, kind of that tribe mentality, right? You're bringing a tribe of people together, ideally a lot of like-minded people together to really, push the, everybody in the room to do better. But let's walk through, right? Like what that first step that you guys had, like Connie committing, like, man, I'm going to do this thing. Oh, I got to go get Gino. Let's go get Gene. Let's get him in. But kind of walk through y'all's kind of process from an event design standpoint.
Well, we had a lot of help. It's been done all over the country already. So there were some guidelines and a framework already that we just really jumped into some meetings and asked some questions and took their suggestions and ran with those. First it was deciding on the venue and where to have it. And we've got a really cool space. And I think it could be anywhere. It could go any direction that anybody wants it to go in. But we just kind of talked, like what is our vibe in Birmingham? What do we feel like, people would have fun and want to be at? And, we landed on 2 events, actually, not just one event. I don't know how we did that. But
Let's
here
just
we
make it a little
are.
bit harder. Let's do another one on top of this
Yeah,
one.
let's really take it to the next level. Let's do 2. So, we're having a VIP event at Top Golf, and, it's going to involve the speakers. John, you'll be there. We'll have some other speakers there, and it's a more intimate venue. So, people will come in. We'll have, really, we want to have that mastermind setting of everybody's bouncing questions, and everybody has an opportunity to talk, and everybody gives some input, so that we have that room of, 30 or 40 people that really just want to talk about their real estate business and ask questions, from the experts, with the experts, and learn from them. And then on Wednesday, we're having a speaker event. So, we'll have 3 amazing speakers. We'll have a panel, what's working, for these amazing agents that are making big business. And we're just really excited because, like I said, it's going to be 2 totally separate events, 2 totally separate feels. But we're going to have great food, and it's, I'm so excited about it.
Gino, for you, right, coming, into this, like kind of where you saw things and what you bring to the table of how to set that standard, which I feel is kind of the Birmingham way that we do have, especially working here with Connie, we definitely have a higher standard of what we're trying to deliver. But like for you kind of going through this process, what has really stood out?
I think being partnered with Connie, the collaboration, neither one of us have selfish interest at heart, and we truly wanted to set up an event that was going to be extremely beneficial. I told Connie straight out of the gate, and I kind of flipped my John hat on of, all right, what's our budget? What's our structure? We got to meet this, we got to meet that. And Connie looked me dead in the, it was a Zoom call. We did Zoom calls every week. She looked me dead in the eye and goes, Gene, I can raise the money. I've raised money really fast. I've got people. And she was not wrong. And that was the number one thing that I was worried about, because these events do take money to raise. And we were blessed to get a lot of really good sponsors. But I went at it from more of the business end of just making sure the budgets were there, and then creating the environment. But, she and I are really fortunate to have, number one, you helped us through some planning. We both have a staff that's very, very organized and keeps us, keeps she and I, in between the guardrails and things of that nature. So, like she said, we had a whole lot of help, and a lot of people were really, really gracious to do that. So, once we had the structure, the budget structure, and sponsors started rolling, we made sure that we understood what event we wanted to create, and just as Connie said, what environment we want to create that we thought would bring the most people and be most beneficial. And so she and I were on the same page with a lot of things. And like I said, her gift with raising money and having a lot of great connections was really what fueled this entire thing. And I understand why she was tapped to do it. And so, I think, like I said, we both just compiled our resources, threw in some budgets, and made sure we created the best environment for what we're going to do. So
yeah, it is. And that's really where, kind of it starts is, really what's the goal, right? What's the real objective here? What are we trying to accomplish? And I think that works from both sides of the street, right? From, the event coordination, the design of the event, the hosts for you guys, right? Is like, okay, what's the objective here? What's the goal? What do we want to accomplish? And like I said, the other side of the street is for people coming is like, okay, what, for where I'm at in my life and my career, how is this going to really be of a benefit for me, right? Like, how is this going to help me, catapult myself further, down the path in this year by being able to come to this event? And it's what I always tell. I mean, Gene knows this, right? Like going to any event, going to into any meeting, going to anything is like, what's your goal? What's the biggest objective, right? Like, what's the problem? What's the rock in your shoe? And, if you go to this event and they can remove that rock out of your shoe, what is that worth to you? What is that worth? And you're like, man, it would, put me down on a path that would probably 2 to 3x my business. So you're telling me an afternoon, an evening, a little bit of money could 2 to 3x your business by investing a little time and a little bit of money to go to? I mean, that's a bet. You go to Vegas and you hit that button all day, every day, right? You hit that trade. So I think it's super important to remember there that the other component, and you can put this in whatever order you want, is Gino's question. What's the budget? How many tickets do we think we can sell? What's this going to cost us? How are we getting there? And so really, really important part of the framework for y'all listening in. You can't skip that part. That is a very important part. And then I think the component that brings it all together is, what does the cast of characters and the team have to look like for us to deliver on the goal and the objective within the budget that we have, right? Right things, right order. It all has to work together. And those are the three big components, right? I have this objective, I have this experience, I have what we're wanting to do. Here's kind of the financial threshold where we want to be with it. And then, man, what's my team got to look like in order for us to pull this off? And I will say, y'all have two of the best in the business as your right hands that do a lot of things behind the scenes. And I've seen a lot of them, and y'all have a couple of the very best. And so that makes y'all's life easier to focus on the experience, which is the ultimate kind of the overarching for every event that you have, is like, what is the experience we want them to have? How do we want them to feel when they leave, right? It's the whole thing is like, if I can connect to your heart and move the way you feel, that's probably going to get you to move action and actually make changes in your life. So there's so many moving pieces. And I mean, kudos to you guys for teaming up, because that's what I always recommend. Unless you've got 2 or 3 of Betty's and Scarlett's in the background helping you pull this off, you gotta have, a team to really pull off something special.
Yeah, I know our working geniuses, thanks to you. And I know where my strengths are, but I also know my weaknesses. So I had to go look for Gene to hold me between those, guardrails of what's our budget. Because that is, y'all both know right now that is not my strength. So, but we don't want to just throw money at the problem like so many people do. But this event is, I'm so excited about it because when we originally thought about this, it's still Q1. And we really, really, really want it to be something that is just going to catapult, like you said, the agents into the rest of the year. Like, what is it that we're going to be able to give them, tell them, talk to them about, provide for them that is going to make a difference that day in their business? And I think that is, I'm so excited about it because the things that we are talking about, the conversations that will be had, the lessons that will be given out that day, like, there's so much. I have seen some of the slides, so I won't spoil anything, but it's going to be amazing. Like, some of the AI, the technology. I'm so excited to hear your talk because, like, I know what you've done for me personally with mindset and just belief and all of those things. So I'm really excited. But we're bringing in other people that are talking about, AI, video, like how that can change your life. Like you said, people who've influenced me to do more, to do better, to change things up and be a little more courageous on video. And then, being able to talk about everybody should have a luxury experience in real estate, regardless of your price point. Like, that is so important. That's such an important message for people. I hear it all the time. How do I break into luxury real estate? Well, you start with your $150,000 buyers and you treat them like a luxury buyer. And it starts right there. It starts in every single conversation that you have. So there's so many nuggets, so much wisdom that's going to be dropped next week. Like, I'm so excited. I know that I'm going to learn so much. So just want to make sure that if you haven't gotten your ticket, you should probably do that.
Where can they go to get their tickets?
Yes. Can we drop the link?
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, I mean, we can tell them and then we'll add it to the notes with this, but what is the URL to go get tickets?
Yes, you can go to Further Together, 26 Birmingham.com. Further Together 26.
Love it. Love it. And we are, just like you said, you were in, you went down to Gulf Shores a couple weeks ago, but we are set for March the 11th
March 11th.
in Birmingham. And just like you said, you can, let's see if I can pull this thing up.
While you're pulling it, we talked about vision, and when Connie and I talked, our vision is kind of, we wanted to reach agents that are just getting on the plane and those that are taking it all the way up. And so that's why we have a panel of new agent to success. We have a panel of an agent that's transitioned into a different market. We have an agent that's speaking luxury. We have an agent talking AI. We have you talking structure, mindset. So we really wanted somebody to be able to kind of board a plane and take it all the way to the, sky high. And so that was what we really cast when we started putting it together. So.
Yeah. Another lesson for everybody listening in, the framework, kind of how the event flows, who you have presenting, who you have speaking is just as important as, the event location, right? Those little details absolutely matter when it comes to really designing and building an experience for your attendees. So Gino, thank you for sharing that, because you guys did take that into that framework is beautiful, right? Like I want somebody that no matter where they're at, taking off, building, landing, the plane, they're going to get tremendous value no matter where they're seated or what season they're in or what stage they're in, whatever you want to use. So important with that. And just the future of real estate, obviously with, how critical AI is and how fast it's changing everything, not only from us as a profession, but changing the consumer behavior, right? Changing, the consumer, AI driven consumer, the buyers and sellers and investors utilizing AI. Where is our value really at, right? Where's the value gap for us as agents in this profession now? Like where do we solve a problem that AI is not able to solve yet in their home buying and home selling experience? Or if you're building a team or an organization, how do you pour more into, that team and those organizations? But looking at the topics, the cast of characters, we've built a really good ensemble of being able to navigate that experience and that story throughout the 2 days of the event. So I've got kind of what you said there, Connie. You can head over to Further Together, just Google Further Together events. This comes up. You'll be able to get it to hear for the Birmingham event on March the 11th, Mindset and Momentum, being able to get information about the event, but also to be able to book the tickets. I think you said we still have a couple VIP experiences left. So that is,
they're selling out fast though.
Gonna be gone. So
yes.
Just make sure if you guys are coming to be able to pull that off and being able to come as well. So it's awesome. I am excited. So guys, what kind of final words as we wrap up here for, folks listening in, if they're coming to the event or if they're thinking of running an event, what kind of words of advice do we want to leave them with?
Gene, you want to go ahead?
I would just say open mind. If you're one of those that hasn't stepped out of those, stepped out of your kind of your bubble and you want to go into it with an open mind. And don't be afraid to do a lot of listening, because, and regardless of how big or small the room is, I really try to go in there with just open ears and kind of eavesdrop everywhere I can and find places and conversations I can get into. And not only that, but the opportunity to listen to the speakers and be able to, a lot of times when you go to these events, you're going to hear so much, it can be like a water hose to the face, but the value in these speakers is so large. And what I would encourage you to do is take where you are in your business and listen to those things that you can implement immediately. And every one of them is going to give you something. And while at some point you're going to be able to take all that knowledge and put it in your business somewhere, everybody's in a different place in their business. So be listening for that one thing that is going to impact you right now from the speakers, and even in the room, in between conversations. And don't be afraid to step out and broaden your horizons and implement when you're ready. And so it's important to take it all in, but what's more important is to hone into those things that will impact you right now, right here, where you are in your business. And everybody in that room is going to be in a different place with different goals, but there'll be something for everybody. So
Yeah, so good. Connie?
Absolutely. I would just say, listen, this is for agents by agents. Again, we're in a small town here in Birmingham. So a lot of people talk, oh, it's a recruiting event. It's this, it's that. It's not. It is a learning event. It is an experience that you don't want to miss. And, just invite someone, come, learn, grow. It's going to be a great event.
Yeah, I can't wait. It's going to be fantastic. So, Gene, Connie, thank you guys so much for, carving out the time, jumping in with us today. And, folks listening in, you can connect with Gene and Connie. I would say go follow one on Instagram, that especially, seeing Connie's content and what she's doing, but got to go check out my man Gino over there as well. So go hit them up on socials. And guys, that's a wrap. Today's episode of the Agent to CEO podcast. And man, I can't thank you guys enough for talking about events, breaking it down from, host to also what it takes in the right mindset to walk into a room from events. So appreciate you guys sharing your stories and your experiences. And listen, if you guys are tuning in, you want to connect, go connect with Gene and Connie. But if you want a little help on putting the events together, they are more than qualified to help you. I can help you out as well. Of course, told you in the beginning, go to sevenfigurecall.com, book your call with me, and look forward to seeing you guys in Birmingham.
See you next week.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. We'll see you guys soon. See ya.